If we have some more folks that John, that's great. But yeah, thanks everyone for joining and for your interest in the Water Chestnut Chasers Challenge. Say that 5 times fast. This is a new program that iMapInvasives staff are doing this year, and it's just kind of a way that we're hoping for people across the state of Pennsylvania to get on the water in July and just kind of keep your eyes peeled for a particular invasive species, water chestnut. So if you have questions as we go through, please feel free to kind of raise your hand over the phone and ask me any questions that you have. But I'm going to go ahead and get started. Okay, so the main purpose of the challenge, there's actually a few things. So number one is to identify new water chestnut infestations that may be in Pennsylvania that we don't know about already. It's also going to be useful in discerning areas that will require initial or continued treatment efforts. It's also going to be useful in supporting efforts to detect high-priority invasive species, which, of course, the water chestnut is one of those high-priority species, and to hopefully prevent or slow its spread in our state. Also, just helping to raise awareness of the harm that's caused by invasive species. A lot of times we know the term invasive, but we don't always know what it is that the species does that makes it so bad. And so a little bit more about that. And also to utilize the iMapInvasives database here in Pennsylvania to help to gather the data that you guys are out and collecting, to put that all into one centralized place, and to use that data and disperse it to others that are doing work with early detection and rapid response efforts. So the details of the challenge are this. Who is going to be involved? So it's going to be all of you guys, the participants of the challenge, and technology of choice. What is going to be your smartphone if you want to record things while you're out in the field, or you want to go and use your desktop computer, which some things you will have to use your desktop in order to enter certain types of data. But observation data is what you can enter using your smartphone, and we'll talk more about that. So what are you searching for? You're searching for water chestnut. You're going to do that all of this month. You have the whole month of July to get killed. You're going to be reporting your findings to iMapInvasives, both the positive findings for where you're finding it and places where you find it. So we're interested in both presence and absence data. We're doing the water chestnut, as I mentioned, a high priority invasive species that is in Pennsylvania, but it's not widespread. So it's still one of those species that we want to look for and act on as soon as we can in order to hopefully slow its spread in the state. So it's to cause harm to native wildlife and their habitat, and it also hinders recreational activities that we like to take part in when the summer months come around. So has water chestnut already been found? So to the data that we have in iMap so far, water chestnut has been found in 6 different counties. Those counties are Berks, Bucks, Dauphin, Luzerne, Montgomery, and Warren. And you can see those highlighted on the map there. Also, the Pennsylvania Flora Project has data reflecting that it's also been found in Pike and Wayne County. So in total, it looks like it's been found in 8 different counties, but the whole has been found in very many counties. So that's good, and we definitely want to keep it that way. So if there are other places where you know that, whether it's in those existing counties or new counties, it would be really great to figure it out. And again, that's one of the main things that this challenge is all about. Just to kind of talk a little bit about what the map is and how to interpret that, this is a screenshot right from the iMapInvasives database, and you'll see green circles and 1 orange square. And the green circles are representative of reports for water chestnut that have been confirmed and have precise locations. So they have like specific GPS coordinates. The square is also representative of a confirmed report, but its location is approximate, so it doesn't have a precise location. It's more, it's been found in a particular water body, but not saying where in that water body it's been found. So confirmed, or both of the precise locations as well as the approximate are documented in IMAP, and both are useful to have. And the numbers in each of the circles and the square are representative of the amount of observations that have been found in that area. So if up in Warren County, you see a 6 and a 5, that's representative of a total of 11 reports that have been found there. And if you zoom in on the map when you're in the database, the circles will break apart and they will get smaller and smaller because you're zooming in closer and closer to those specific observation areas. So using iMapInvasives is a really cool tool for this particular effort because not only can we use it to document data, but we can use it to do different types of analysis and to really understand where it is that we're finding things and who is finding it. So we can know the specific water bodies where water chestnut has already been reported, and you guys are out this summer and you're looking for it and you find it, we know where it is that you found it specifically. We have the precise observation date they found it on, and that can be really helpful because it dates, you know, how long something has been there for. So if an observation date was in, 2007, we know that it's potentially been there for 10 years now. Also know the specific observer and their affiliated organization. Again, really useful in kind of tracking where that data is coming from. So just to note, any documented water chestnut reports that we have in IMAP so far doesn't necessarily guarantee that an infestation still exists there. And that's just saying, we have a report, it was documented there at a certain time. From then till now, there may have been some treatment that occurred, whether that was mechanical or manual or chemical, and the population may have either gone down or it may have been eradicated altogether. And that data isn't necessarily in IMAP, so just be clear on that, so that our reports document that water chestnut was found at a particular location at one time, and it may or may not still be there. I'm just going into some of the specifics on where water chestnut has already been found at. In Bucks County, which is in eastern Pennsylvania, it's been found in Lake Towhee and Lake Nakamixon, also Bradford Reservoir, and another unnamed water body that's near the town of Sellersville. Bucks County, also eastern Pennsylvania, it's been found in a private pond that's near Topton, and so Hopewell Lake, which there's a photo there on the right-hand side of the map in IMAP showing the location of where water chestnut was found specifically in Hopewell, as well as the photo that was documented for that report. And that was taken by Nick Decker. He's with the PA Bureau of State Parks. Doe County, again, that one's been found in an unnamed pond near Harrisburg. Luzerne County, again, another unnamed water body in Durant Township. Montgomery County, there's been several water bodies where it's been found at: Maple Run Reservoir, Unami Creek, Night Lake, also known as Green Lake Reservoir, Indian Creek, another unnamed water body in Culpsville, and another unnamed water body in Montgomeryville. And Warren County, which is over in the northwest part of the state, it's been found in the Allegheny River. It's been 2 ponds on 2 different golf courses. An unnamed water body west of the State Game Lands 282, and then within the State Game Lands 282 in an area called Akeley Swamp. Again, this is all data that I pulled directly from IMAP, just doing some simple analysis, and it's really helpful to kind of get a good understanding of where something is at across the state and understand where that data is coming from. And that data is coming from various sources. Both, our state agencies as well as our citizen scientists, which both groups are really helpful as far as reporting where invasive species are being found at. So let's talk a little bit more about water chestnut specifically. Some of you may be really familiar with it, and some of you might not. So they're going to give you kind of a glance at what water chestnut is all about and what it looks like. The scientific name is Trapanetans. Information that I'm going to give you on the species comes from a particular field guide called Pennsylvania's Field Guide to Aquatic Invasive Species. Actually, the person who was responsible for putting that field guide together, Sarah Stallman, is on our call today. Sarah, thank you for doing a really good job on that field guide. So water chestnut is a rooted aquatic plant, and it's really different from the one that you're going to find when you go and get Chinese takeout. So it's not the same thing. It can dominate ponds, shallow lakes, and rivers because it's going to grow in a thick, dense colony. And it's known to grow in as much, as far as length goes, as much as 16 feet in length. So it can get pretty long. So as far as what to look for, the leaves are going to be kind of your main thing that you'll see floating on the water surface. And it comes in two distinct forms. It's going to be both floating and submerged leaves. So the floating leaves are triangular, or you could also determine or call them a fan shape, and have little margins on the side that have little teeth or little projections. You'll take note of that too. So the leaves of the plant are going to be arranged in what they call rosettes. It's going to be large floating rosettes. The upper leaves are glossy. The underside is going to be covered with soft hairs. So overall, the leaves are kept afloat on the surface by these little inflated bladders, and you can see those in the bladders. And they're attached to long stems, which will connect the leaves to the submerged section of the plant. So just overall, that's going to be what you'll ultimately see finding it.
Amy?
Yes.
I don't think everybody has their lines muted.
Yes.
I just heard a cheer from someone and totally blocked you out.
I'm sorry. Yes, so thanks for that. For anyone on the phone, if you could mute your lines just for the benefit of everyone else on the call for the time being. If you do have a question, you can always unmute your phone, but please keep them on mute for the time being. I appreciate that. So continuing on with what to look for as far as for the water chestnut plant, it's going to have a very small flower right in the very middle of the plant. It's going to have 4 white petals, and the flower usually appears in mid to late July, so, perfect timing for us. As far as the fruits and the seeds, for what you're looking for, it does produce what looks like a nut. They call it a nutlet. So it would be black in color, but if it's attached to the plant still and still growing, it's going to be more of a greenish color. So just beware, these nutlets are very sharp, and they are capable of penetrating shoe leather. So if you're in an area that's infested with water chestnut, just be very careful while you're walking along the shoreline to make sure you don't step on one of these things. But if you do find one of them, it's a pretty sure sign that you're in an area where water chestnut is definitely at. And the roots. They have numerous finely branched roots that develop along the lower stem of the plant. These are useful in anchoring the water chestnut plant to the substrate of the water body. And you can see that there in this picture. So its habitat, where are you going to find it? So it can grow in any freshwater setting, but it's going to prefer areas that have nutrient-rich waters that are less than 16 feet deep. It's found in ponds, lakes, and slow-moving streams as well as rivers. So there's going to be a wide array of areas that you can look at. Okay, you're not going to be restricted just to your lakes and ponds, but also the streams and the rivers. So the spread, water chestnut has a really high reproductive rate. Each plant can produce up to 15 nuts in a season, and each nut can sink to the bottom of a water body and remain viable for up to 12 years. It's so scary, but it's true. So this is another reason why, getting rid of this one is really important, just because it has that potential to reproduce over such a long time that, when you find it, you want to make sure that you, hopefully get rid of it as soon as possible so that it doesn't have a chance to reproduce and have that ability to remain for such a long time. can also spread vegetatively when the rosettes of floating leaves break apart and fragments will attach to boats or trailers, and essentially that's its way of getting around and getting to new locations. And so you can see here in these two pictures, the photos aren't necessarily depicting water chestnut, but other aquatic plants. And it can be really easy to go from one water body to the next if this is how you're getting around. So I do want to mention just the importance of checking and cleaning your gear. Not only yourself, but also your boat, your trailer, whatever it is that you put in the water, to ensure that you're not bringing an aquatic hitchhiker along with you wherever you're going to next. So be very mindful of that when you're out this summer. So the distribution, where does it come from? Its native range is Europe, Asia, and Africa. It was brought to the United States by water gardeners in the early 1800s, and it quickly established from there. And so here in the States, it was first observed in Massachusetts. And since then, it spread to the waters of Maryland, New York, and of course here in Pennsylvania. So why is this plant an issue? Why are we concerned about it? So the dense floating mats of water chestnut can choke out a water body by limiting the light and the oxygen that's available to be in there to help the other native plants and the animals that are there. Colonies will outcompete native organisms for nutrients in space, and it offers little nutritional value for our native wildlife. Definitely a harm to the environment. As far as people go, it will impede boating and other recreational activities. So here you can see I've got some pictures of someone that's out boating, someone who's swimming, and someone who's swimming. All of these activities, as well as others, are really not easily done, when you're in an area that's got a ton of water chestnut. And so this is something that our native wildlife and people should all be concerned about, because we want to make sure we can support our native wildlife and also be able to continue recreating on our favorite water bodies. Despite its invasive qualities, water chestnut, if you believe it or not, is still sold commercially as a water garden plant. It's true of a lot of other invasive species, and not just water chestnut. So I just kind of stuck this slide here because I wanted to get out to whenever you're out purchasing plants for your garden, whether it's a water garden or a flower garden, you're not purchasing an invasive species ever. There is no excuse to ever buy one, because we know the harm that they can cause. So help to educate others, your friends, your family, and tell them to just make sure that they know what they're buying ahead of time. Don't purchase something just because it's pretty or it's got a good price tag on it. Make sure you do your homework and you know what you're getting. So if you're unsure of where to go to get good information on other species as far as what you're buying, there's some sources to go to. There's DCNR has information called iconservepa.org, and so you can get for more information. Penn State Extension and also Pennsylvania Sea Grant are two really good resources to go to. And Pennsylvania Sea Grant, of course, is aquatic related, and so they can give you a lot of good information if you're a water gardener and you want to know that you're buying good plants that are native or at least not invasive. Is there any questions so far about anything we've talked about? Okay, we will. So reporting your findings. So that's what this challenge is all about. Go out there and report what you find, whether you find water chestnut or you look and you don't find it. We're interested in both presence and absence data. So if you find water chestnut, of course you're going to be recording presence data, and you do this with an observation and an assessment record. You can use either the mobile app or online interface to enter these records. Now just keep in mind our mobile app is for observations only, so to enter an assessment record you have to actually log into the database on a desktop computer. So if you looked for water chestnut and you didn't find it, that data is also good to be documented. You'll be documenting absence data in that case. And to do that with a survey record. And this is another one that you have to log in using a desktop computer to actually enter that information. So why report absence data? I mean, a lot of people would say, what's the purpose? I thought you really wanted to know, where I'm finding something at. But absence data is really important because it shows that an area has been searched and indicates that a target species was not found there. And so absence data was not something that we offered to be recorded. It was more on the difficult side to help to inform natural resource professionals who are out doing other survey efforts and to prioritize where it is that they go and survey. So if you have a group working in a particular area, target is water chestnut, they can look and see, this group already looked in this pond this year, and okay, I don't need to go look there. I can go look somewhere else. And so the absence data is really important to document as well, and that's why I'm encouraging all of you guys to go out and do that. So if you look somewhere you don't find it, make sure that you're documenting that in a survey record. So I'm going to go over each of the various ways you can document data, and we're going to start with our mobile app. So this offers a quick and easy way to record if you are finding presence data as an observation while you're out in the field. So you don't have to write anything down, you don't have to take any notes, you can just do it right there on your phone. Once you would actually enter data into the mobile app, you upload those to the database when you're back in where Wi-Fi is available. So until you have Wi-Fi, your observation is just going to live on your phone until you actually upload it, and we'll talk more about that. So more details about the app on the iMapInvasives.org website, so you can always go there for more information. And just remember, you can only record observation data on the app. To record assessment, survey, and treatment data, you have to be on a desktop computer. Here's how to get started. If you have the app already, then you don't have to do this part. But if you're new to the app, you want to make sure that you first download it. And you're going to do that either with the Google Play Store on an Android phone or the Apple App Store on an iPhone. And I'll just type in the word iMapInvasives in the search bar. This is a view from an Android phone, so this is what it would look like if you also have an Android. Just put in the word iMapInvasives, and the app should show up right away. Just click on that and download it, and it'll be on your phone. And some of the things it's going to ask you when you first open up the app is to fill in your preferences, and it's going to ask you for your username and your password, and it has to match exactly what you would type into the iMapInvasives database on a desktop computer. So your username is always going to be the first 3 letters of your first name, all of your last name. It's going to be all lowercase, no spaces. So if your name is John Smith, your username is going to be J-O-H and Smith. Okay, first 3 letters of your first name, all of your last name. And your password is going to be assigned whenever you get your login credentials. And so if you haven't gotten credentials yet, then you don't know your password. But if you do have it, then make sure you type that in exactly as it is. If you forget what your password is, there's a reset option that's available if you're on your desktop computer. You can go to IMAP log area for Pennsylvania and just click reset. So the home page is going to look like this one here on the left side when you first open up the app. It's going to be just a few quick instructions on what is where on the app. So, once you open it up, again, you want to make sure that you fill in the preferences by clicking on the menu in the upper left-hand corner, and it's going to ask you to fill in your default state, which is going to be Pennsylvania, your last name, your username, and your password. It's going to how you want the species list to appear, and that's just asking if you want to see common names or scientific names or both. And so that is up to you what you want. There are a few other things in there to fill out, but not too much. So once you have your preferences filled in, you can go in and start using the app. And so to do that, say out and you find water chestnut and you want to make your observation using your phone. What you're going to do is click on that green button at the very top right-hand corner that says Add Observation. And a new window is going to pop up. It's going to look similar to this one. And you'll see a camera icon at the very top of the screen on the left-hand side. And if you tap on that icon, it's going to open up your phone's camera. You can use that to take one photo of what you're looking at. The difference with the app and the online data entry on a desktop computer is that you can enter up to 5 photos on your computer, whereas here with the app you can only take one. But if you want to take more than just one picture, you can do that just with your camera on your phone, and it can upload those photos when you get back to a desktop computer. So you can get at least one with the app, and you can take multiple with your camera. So really important, take distinguishing photographs. Sometimes I get photos from folks and it's from a really far distance, so I can't really tell what I'm looking at, or the photo's a little fuzzy, or it's just not very clear. And so it's important to take really good pictures, because these are what we're going to be able to use and look at to confirm your records that you're submitting. So don't be afraid to take photos from various angles, because that's really important too. You can take it from an aerial or an above view, side, underside, look at the whole infestation. If it's a large area that has a big population, these good photos are really crucial, so make sure that you're keeping that in mind. As you go down in the app, you're going to fill in some additional information. It's going to ask if you want to add data to a project. In case you do want to have a certain project that you choose, we're going to enter all of this data that you guys find in Water Chestnut Chasers 2017 project, and that show up in your phone. If it's not, let me know, and I will try to make sure that it does. Choose the species you observe, so it's of course going to be water chestnut if you are finding it, and the date should automatically fill in on its own to the current day, so you shouldn't need to do that. And as far as the location goes, the GPS in your phone will automatically determine where you are and fill that in on the map right away. If you need to, you can uncheck the GPS box at the very top, and you can move the point to another location if you need to do that. So if you don't have cell phone coverage when you're using the app and making an observation, the base map is not going to display. So what you see here, it would just be like a white screen. But that doesn't mean that the GPS isn't working. Your GPS probably is still working. We'll be able to mark that location for you, so just keep that in mind. So nearing the end of your observation, you can always add in some comments, and that could be anything as far as the population density, other landmarks that you might be close by. If you're with additional people, that would also be observers. You could list that as well. So I think would be good to add. You don't have to add comments if you don't want to, but that is an option. And then once you're finished with that, you want to save your observation. It's going to add it to a queue on your app's home page, which you will then upload once you are back in an area that has the Wi-Fi, the data connectivity. If you are in that area with Wi-Fi, you check on the box in the menu that says Upload Selected. For anyone on the phone, please make sure you have your phone muted, just to make sure that the can hear everything okay. Thank you. Once you choose the observations that you want to upload, to confirm that those are the ones you want, ask you, do you want to upload these records? And you say okay. And just keep in mind, if you continue to see the observations in the queue for any reason, that means that they haven't been uploaded to the database. So just try uploading them again, and it should ultimately disappear from your phone. And that's a good thing, because it means they've been uploaded to the database. Okay, once you've done that and you've uploaded your observations, with a chance, go back to your office or your home and desktop computer and add in some additional information. The app doesn't collect all of the data that you can actually enter if you're on a desktop computer. You can go in and add some additional information if you'd like to. Again, you don't have to, but it's going to help to make your record more informative, and people will be able to benefit from that. And so in order to do that, when you use IMAP, you click on a section called View Table. From there, you can access your record and pull it up, and this will be essentially what you see when you're opening up your record. So once your report has been submitted, once your report is in, it's going to be logged as unconfirmed data. And this actually means that it hasn't been reviewed by an administrator, but once it has been, it's going to be called either confirmed or approximate. And again, that's going to be based on how precise or imprecise your location is for your finding. So, and of course, it's also going to be based on the species and making sure that we're looking at your photos, making sure that it definitely is water chestnut, and we would confirm that. If there are any questions that the administrator would have, I'll touch with you, and I would just double check, see if you can get some additional photos or answer any questions that I have. But data in IMAP is key to ensure that the species ID and the location is accurate. That's a really important component of the database. If you have any additional questions and you want to learn more about how to use the mobile app, there's a mobile tools page that's available on iMapInvasives.org that you can check out at any time. Does anyone have any questions about how to use the app? Okay, keep going along here. So now I'll show you guys how to enter other different data types using your desktop computer. And then it would be observation, assessment, and survey data. So we'll start with the observation data. And again, this is going to be a little bit similar to what we just talked about with the mobile app. It's going to be a different interface. So when you log into iMapInvasives, you click on a section that's called Enter Data, and that's going to be on the left side of your screen. It'll look just like this. So I'm going to ask you for information very similar to what the mobile app is going to ask you for those photos. Again, the main difference between the mobile app and the online interface is you can enter additional pictures up to 5. And make sure you're putting in pictures that have those distinguishing characteristics, and you're really up close and getting those good pictures unless you're taking an infestation photo. And in that case, you'd be taking it a little bit farther away. For your name, so we know who the observer was. Again, it's going to ask for that if you're putting data in a project, and we want you to fill in the project for the Water Chestnut Chasers Challenge 2017. It would know what species you found, so you would choose either the common or the scientific name, so either water chestnut or banatans would be fine. To know when you made your observation, and so it has a calendar available, and there's some screenshots of what that calendar looks like here on the webinar. I can see that you can't actually type a date directly into here. You have to navigate on the calendar to find the day. And it's easy to use. So it will generally default to the present day. So if you made your observation today, it would already fill in the day for you. But if you made an observation like a few days or a week ago, you just have to click on the day that would be appropriate to do. As far as the location goes, you can enter your location in a few different ways. You can enter GPS coordinates if you know them, or if you know the water body that you were at and that water body has a name, you can use the search bar to type in that water body name and then navigate from there. Or if you don't know the water body name, you can type in the name of a town that you're in, and you can navigate that way. So there's various ways to do it, and it's all pretty user-friendly. You entered all of your required information for your observation. It's going to give you a summary page, and it's going to ask you to review those details and make sure everything looks good, and if it does, you can go ahead and submit that to IMAP. And all of this process takes maybe a minute or two at most. It doesn't take very long. So again, important to note that after you create your observation record, you're going to return to it and add in additional information. So just like with the app, you can't collect all of the information that you might want to put in that initial phase of data entry. So you might want to add some comments like additional observers, how many plants there were. If there was maybe like 5 plants that you noticed, maybe you want to document that. You also want to mention the site conditions. If it was, like an area that was sort of polluted, or, maybe it was a nice area, maybe you just want to talk a little bit about that. The directions and access information can be really helpful depending on where you are. So if there is any kind of gate, like a locked gate, or if you need permission from a private landowner, you're going to want to mention that in the access comments. Also, if the terrain was rough, if you had to cross over something that was sort of steep or dangerous to get to where you are, that would also be really good information to mention. Also, if you do decide to collect a specimen, which isn't a bad idea at all, you want to mention where your specimen is going to be going to. And so you can pick from a list of various museums, herbariums, botanical gardens. There's a long list in there. And so if it's something that you want to do, by all means, please do so. If you have any questions after today's webinar on how to actually go through this process of entering an observation through a desktop computer, we have a training video that's available through YouTube, and it's on our website, the Pennsylvania iMapInvasives website, on our training page, and so you can access that at any time. Okay, is there any questions about how to enter an observation on a desktop? Okay. In addition to entering in an observation, if you are finding water chestnut, entering an assessment is a really good idea too, because it's going to help to document the abundance of what you're finding, and that's really important data to capture. And I slide in here because I recently did a story provided by this woman here. Her name is Bethany Bradley, and she's a professor at UMass Amherst. And she basically did a study recently, tried to figure out if you determine the abundance of a population of a species based on the amount of observations that there are. And her findings initially said that no, you can't. Just because there's a lot of observations don't necessarily mean that there's a high abundance. You really need to have a special type of record that would determine the abundance of a species. It's really important work that she's doing specifically for invasion risk assessments. And so documenting abundance data for this particular effort, I think, is going to be really important. And someone like Bethany would probably be really appreciative of it too. Okay, so you don't have to document an assessment. I would say definitely document an observation record. If you want to document an assessment, please do, because it's never a bad thing. Okay, here's how to enter an assessment record. Again, you have to be logged into a desktop computer in order to do this. This is the main navigation page. This is what it would look like. You want to click on View. And at this point, you've already entered an observation record. So you're going to be using the table here for all of your records that you've already entered. And you do that by typing in your last name. So you type your last name. And here I've chosen someone, her last name is Sanderson. She has 2 records here, one of which is for water chestnut. So you click on that record, and open it up, and if you scroll down to a section called Related Records, it's going to give you an option to enter an assessment for this observation. You actually have to be in the observation record in order to enter an assessment for it. When you click on that, a new window is going to appear, and it's going to allow you to start creating your assessment record. The message that shows up there is going to zoom in to your observation area where you made that initial discovery of water chestnut. So you don't have to do any zooming. It will do that for you. So there's already a polygon that's already been pre-drawn on the map. It'll be a yellow polygon. And what you want to do is reshape that polygon to the entire infested area where you're noticing that water chestnut is at. And you'll do that by using the various vertices that are there on the corners and on the sides of the square. drag and move those around until you get to cover the whole area. You can also delete the polygon and start a new one if you want to. There's various ways. The drawing tools are there in the right-hand corner of the map. And so I drew a polygon. That's what mine looks like. Don't be afraid to make it as detailed as you want, because the more detailed it is, it really helps to depict the whole area that you're finding this at, and that's really good information to have. So the assessment record, after you're done drawing your polygon, you scroll down to the data portion. So there's a data part or a data question about the evaluation type. So how are you looking at this? Have you been here just for the first time, that this is an initial evaluation? Maybe I need to do treatment, or maybe this is after treatment. So again, make sure you're choosing the one that's the most appropriate option. Site disturbance area, you can choose from human, natural, both, or none. In disturbance severity, you can choose from none, light, moderate, or heavy. There's about 5 options here, so you just choose the most appropriate response. I chose management candidate because maybe this is an area you think needs to be treated in some way, and so you're going to go back and do a management. And if you want to, you can leave additional comments in various comment boxes for evaluation type, events, and assessment. And not required, but if you want to and you think it's appropriate, please leave any notes that you think would be good. In the affected area section, you want to fill in either the percent cover or the class section. If you want to enter in a specific percentage, or the class just gives you like 4 different categories based on like 5 to 15% and 15 to 30% or so on and so forth. And so for the one that you think is the best description of the area that is infested. For lake type, you're going to choose water body. For native vegetation distribution, again, there's going to be various options you can choose from, so just choose the most appropriate one. Invasive plant information, you're going to fill in the distribution, the plant distribution, and the plant maturity. In the invasive aquatic plant information section, you're going to fill in data for the water body type, so lake, a pond, a river, the substrate type, the water code, and code regulations that you are aware of. And so don't feel overwhelmed by all of this. I mean, it's just kind of me scrolling through the record and going through the various fields that you need to fill in. It's really understandable. It's really user-friendly, so don't be overwhelmed by this at all. And that's it. Once you finish entering in all that information, you just want to click that button at the very bottom of the record called Update Assessment, and that's going to save your record. Okay, is there any questions about how to enter an assessment? Okay. Again, just a reminder, if you could mute your phones unless you have a question, really appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, so we'll talk about how to enter a survey now. And again, this is going to be your way to document if you have absence data. So if you looked for something and you didn't find it. Just note survey data can be used for 2 different ways. It can be used to document if you're out and doing a survey and you do find various things, but it also is utilized to document the absence data as well. And so that's how we're going to be using it in this instance. So I'm going to go through the various pages of what you'll see when you're logged in and what to do. So on the main navigation page, in the Enter Data section, you'll see options, and one of those is for survey. So you click on survey. And once the survey record will show up, it's going to ask you right away for the type of survey you want to do. This one, we're all going to choose aquatic.
3796.
Okay, and the map shows up once you've chosen your survey type. you zoom into the area where you were searching for water chestnut and use that search bar to type in the name of the water body, then the town, whatever is going to get you close to that area where you were at. So in this instance, I chose a particular water body, Lake Marburg, which is in York County, and I'm now zoomed into that area. So just like the assessment, it's going to give you drawing tools available up in the upper right-hand corner of the map. And use those to draw a polygon, again, just like you did for the assessment, that's going to encompass the entire area that you were doing your searching at. And in order to finish drawing your polygon, you just want to do a double click. So you can see in this example, I've only searched in this particular section of Lake Marburg because Lake Marburg is really huge. So we've only done just a section of it, but I'm pretty detailed in outlining the various inlets and different parts of the lake that I searched. So once you are finished with drawing the polygon, you're going to scroll down and enter in the data part of the record. Lead contact, you're going to choose yourself.
So it just had skin in it.
Project, you're going to choose Water Chestnut Chasers Challenge 17. It's going to ask you for the goal, and you want to say find new infestations. And just to step back here real quick while I'm noticing this, you'll notice that certain fields are highlighted in pink. All of those pink fields are required. It will not let you save the record unless you have something filled in there. So you notice that the field just above the goal field, and that's for site, that isn't pink, and so it's not required. You can fill it in if you want to, but you don't have to. Moving down in the record, it's going to ask for your start and your end dates of the survey, and they're just going to be both your observation dates. So if you want observation on July 4th, it's going to be the start date is July 4th and the end date is July 4th. If you want for multiple days, you enter that in there as well. Target species, it's going to ask you for the scientific name, so you're going to choose Trapanetans as the target species. And then to report that you're recording absence data, in detected species section, you're going to say none detected, and that is an option you can choose from. Type that in. Continuing down, it's going to ask for any general comments that you want to list. Again, this is not required. You can see it's not highlighted in pink, but you can include anything in here that you think is appropriate. So if you want to list other people that you were with, additional observers, anything about the area or the weather or whatever you think might be important to list, this is the place to put that. Continue down in the record, it's going to ask you for more information. This is an aquatic simple type of survey. So know what type of water body you were in. So again, lake, pond, river, bay, inlet, there's a lot of different options. I chose lake/pond. It wants to know the water body name. And there is a field that's called water body name. And one that I chose, Lake Marburg, it wasn't in that list, so I just listed it in the water body other field category. General survey method. It wants to know what survey method you did. So were you looking at the top of the water, were you underwater, or were you looking from the shoreline, which would be considered dry land. So you choose the most appropriate option there. Specific survey method, there is several options there to choose from, so just choose the most appropriate one. There's topside visual. And that's pretty much it. There are a few other things you can fill in as far as comments go, but just like the absence record, you want to make, or I'm sorry, just like the assessment record, you want to scroll down to the very bottom and click that button that says Update Main Survey, and that's going to save your record. If you don't hit that button, it's like you never created the record, so make sure you're saving it. Are there any questions about how to create any of the data types we've talked about so far, the observation, the assessment, or the survey? Okay, so to wrap things up, because we're getting here close to 11 o'clock, let's talk about what happens after the challenge is over. So A really important part of this whole challenge is going to be the analysis of the data that you guys are entering. You are the ones that make this challenge so important, and it's going to be really cool to see what comes out of this. So highlights are going to be if anyone finds a brand new water chestnut infestation. That's going to be awesome to know about. It's also going to be really good to know about water bodies that are going to need continued treatment efforts, and we're going to know that based on knowing where we've already found water chestnut and just knowing what the population and the size looks like, again, by documenting that as an assessment record. And for anyone who's already been treating that particular water body, you can use that assessment data to say, oh, look, the size of the population got smaller. That's really good to know. So, of course, we were talking just now about the survey data. It's good to know about places that are searched for water chestnut and it isn't there. Our absence data, that's really important too. Once everything is over and all the data is in and has been tallied, that's going to be distributed to a lot of different people from across the state, a lot of different natural resource professionals. They're all going to be notified about this because there are a lot of people who are out there doing treatment efforts already or who might want to know about this so they can initiate those efforts. That's really the big purpose of the iMapInvasives database, is to have an area where you can have all that information together and then disperse it to the people who need to know about it. Okay, so again, just sort of like I've been alluding to, the data is going to be used to prioritize survey and treatment efforts that are being conducted all across the state. So ensure that we are doing things in a timely manner and you all are on the same page. I ask that you have all of your data entered by August 15th so that I can then put that all together in a nice little package and give that out to the people who want to know about that. So August 15th, please have all of your data in IMAP by that time. The fun part about this challenge is that it is going to be a winner of the challenge. That is going to be the person who enters the most data into IMAP, so in other words, the most records. And it's going to be both presence and absence data, so observations, assessments, and surveys. And the winner of the challenge is going to be announced at the end of August on the 31st, and there's going to be a grand prize package, and it's all of these items that you see here on the page. It's going to be a Nalgene bottle, a baseball cap, a beach towel, a dry bag, and a gift card to REI. So there's a something for each of you to definitely go out there and try to look as many as you can. So just keep that in mind. And it's an extra challenge to give to each of you if you are willing to accept it. In addition to searching for water chestnut, there's a lot of other aquatic invaders that are out there. Water chestnut, unfortunately, is not the only one. And so keep your eyes peeled for some of these other species that may be out there. European frogbed, hydrilla, curly pondweed, Brazilian Elodia, parrot feather, water milfoil, yellow floating heart, and yellow iris, ditty very milfoil, mat, and purple loosestrife and narrowleaf cattail. So these are just some of many species that you will find. And if you do find them, I would encourage you to also document your findings as observation in the assessment record. You can document the survey record and say, I looked for one of these and I didn't find it. Again, that's really important information to capture. So lastly, I do want to put a plug in for a particular water chestnut pooling event that's happening this summer. So if you're in the eastern Pennsylvania area, this is an event that you can participate in. So this event happens in, Bucks County, I'm sorry. It happens in Bucks County. It's in Lake Towhee. This event is an annual event that's been happening for several years now. I don't know exactly when the first one happened, happened, but it is an annual event. And it's going to be from July 18th, 19th, and 20th, which are Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. So anyone who wants to register and participate, you will be provided with lunch, gloves, and heavy-duty trash bags if you pre-register. So if this is an event that you would like to help out with, you can contact Megan Rugulus. She's with the Bucks County Conservation District. This is her email address and her phone number, so jot that down if you are interested. You can also sign up online. They have a website set up on signup.com that you can register that way as well. So again, another really cool way to stay involved with current efforts that are happening in eastern Pennsylvania to try to make sure Lake Towhee is free of water chestnut one day. And so these are really important events. The volunteers are really the ones that make it happen. Okay, so I think I finished up in exactly an hour. I'm really proud of myself. Does anyone have any questions for me about the challenge, about water chestnut, about how to enter data? Whatever you have, let me know if you have any questions. Okay, well, if you guys have any questions afterwards, you can always feel free to get in touch with me via email or phone. I'm happy to answer any questions you have. Again, starting July 1st is when the challenge officially goes into its start mode. And so, yeah, thanks everybody, and good luck out there. I hope that you are successul in finding any water chestnut that might be out there, and hopefully we get a lot of absence data as well.
Hey, Amy.
Thank you, everyone.
This is Jason Bowers. I'm a park ranger here with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and me and a couple of counterparts are here listening in on your webinar here, and it's very, very enlightening. But I was wondering, some of the information you're showing us that we can put in there for the assessment and their survey, is there a way that we could look at that information too? Through the web page, I see there's reports and stuff like that, but is there a way that we could bring the information to when we sign in?
Yes, absolutely. I'm glad you asked that. So right now, one thing I didn't mention that I will mention in the question is that IMAP is based on user levels, and based on your user level, you will be given access to different types of data entry privileges or data viewing privileges in IMAP. And so right now, a lot of people are at a low user level just because after today's webinar, I was going to increase your level if you were here and you were participating. So once you have a higher user level, you can to a survey or an assessment and, of course, an observation record and view that data that way. And so it will be available. Any data that anyone enters will be available to you. And a quick way to find it, you can do a query in IMAP for all of the data in the project, the Water Chestnut Chasers Challenge 2017 project. You can query that and bring up all of the observation data. You can also go in separately and look at just the assessments and the surveys. Or you can just look at, water chestnut data just by itself and bring up everything that way. So if you do have any trouble or questions about how to do that, just let me know. Or there is also some reference guides that are available on our website, iMapInvasives.org, that should help to answer any questions that you have.
Cool. Yeah, I had some ideas and stuff that some resources I might have available to me to try to end the invasive species surveys here at the lake, at the project that I work at. Mm-hmm. And I was wondering, have you guys ever reached out to some of the universities with some of their biology majors or natural resource majors, maybe using this tool?
Yeah, so we have reached out to some universities, certainly not all of them. I'm always trying to do outreach with different groups that have an interest, but I've connected with Millersville in Lancaster County. We work closely with some of the groups in Erie County. Edinburgh is one that comes to mind. I can't think of some other ones. But yeah, so we have reached out to some groups, but that's kind of one of my things is I'm always reaching out to new groups. So if you have any universities or other schools that have an interest in something like this, please pass along the information or send them my way, and I'd be happy to give them information about this event, certainly.
Yeah, that's great. And I'll reach out to you with some resources I have, because I'm located over on the one side of the state, and when I was looking through some of the other various invasive species that you guys have in the list that you can pick or as observed, and what I may have some students from Slip Rock University possibly doing some surveys out this way, and I'm like, hey, this would be a great mobile tool that you can just do all the information right here and right now.
Absolutely.
Instead of writing down and forgetting about it or dropping a notepad in the river, whatever you're at.
Right, and that's one of the big, values in IMAP program is that, as long as the data is documented and it's in there, it's not going away. It can be, accessed and utilized by a lot of different people, both the natural resource folks and scientists who want to stay informed of this sort of thing. And so that's really the biggest, most important part, I think, about it is the data sharing aspect of it.
Yeah, because I'm about going to taking this around my phone, going out and the weed that we have.
Yep, you could do that all day.
And then the polygon in the Chestnut part, I guess. Measure acreage too.
It does. I think it's actually an automatic calculation that based on your polygon that you draw, it will determine the amount of acreage.
And so even when, say, you did observation on crack or whatever, and you put your polygon on the area that's infested with whatever invasives. I need that information for something. I could go on and see what species was and how many acres the polygon was.
Yep.
That's awesome. That'd be great. That'd make a lot of things a lot easier.
Yes, you are right about that.
A lot of information on stuff that even we don't share information very well.
Right,
I think that's the way to put it.
That's true of a lot of groups, and that's why a lot of people have interest in this particular database, because maybe you're tracking data internally, but you want to share that with your partners, and so that's not always easy to do. Or you're just not really tracking that data very well, whether it's buried in someone's computer or field notes or something like that. This is a really great way to do that. And to go on your example that you mentioned there, I'm thinking a lot about how to use the survey to document absence data, but you can use that to track that maybe you looked for 5 different species and you found 3 of them. And with an assessment, you can only document 1 species, but with the survey, you can use that to document multiple species. And say I looked for knotweed, multiflora rose, Norway maple, bittersweet, and I found 3 of the 4 that I looked at. You can use that to document that kind of information as well as the absence data.
Cool. Great. Thanks.
You're welcome. Is there any other questions before we wrap things up? Well, thank you all very much, and good luck to you.